All right, welcome everybody. My name is Dean, for those of you who haven't been able to attend any previous sessions. And what we're going to do today is go over some basics of editing in Ploud. So what that's going to entail is basically some simple topics on how to interact with your website. We're going to start with how to log in and log out, how to reset your password, and how to edit some basic content types like pages, news items, and events, and then a little bit about how to work on the help desk if we get a chance to get there. In previous sessions, we've run long on some of those topics. So if you do have any questions, you can type them into the chat channel while I'm talking, and hopefully I'll be able to see those and get to them. And also, if we have any time at the end, then I'm happy to go through those, as well as we have another open session, which we've been having every Tuesday and Thursday. We have another one of those tomorrow morning, and you're always welcome to join and ask any questions that kind of bleed over. So with that said, let me start demonstrating. So what I'm using here is an internal copy of one of our sites. So this is a testing site where I'm messing around with a lot of stuff, so I'll be able to edit it freely. So first of all, I'll show you logging in, logging out for anyone who's having problems with that. You can see here that I'm currently logged into my site, and you can tell because next to the search bar, which can appear in different places when you have different themes active, and the one that I've got active right now, it appears on this navigation bar. I have this little button that says admin. That's my username, and that's how I know that I'm logged in. If I weren't, this button would not be here. And so I'll show you where it would show up. So if I click on this and go down to my last option and say log out, then it'll log me out of my site, and I can go back to the home page. And so you can see that admin button is gone. And if I scroll all the way down to the bottom of my page, then in the bottom right, I'll have this staff login button. So if I click on that, then I'm brought to my login page, and I can get back into my site. So, and if you're unable to do that, say you've forgotten your password or it isn't working for some reason, then while you're logged out, you can come down here and click on this link, or we can send you a new password. And when you do that, it'll bring you to a form that asks you your username. And you want to make sure that you use the proper capitalization. If there is some, most of them are going to be lowercase, so it won't matter. But and so when you do that, it'll send you a password reset confirmation email, and I should see that come up in just a second. And when you get that, it'll have a link in it, and it'll allow you to click on that, and it'll take you to a page that allows you to reset your password. I should be getting that. Oh, yes, I did. It just didn't pop up the notification. There we go. All right, so if I click on that, then it brings me to this form. I'll put in my username, and I'll put in my new password, and I'll hit set. So, and then I can come down to my staff login button, and oh, oops, wrong one. I can use my new password to set that. So, all right, so now that I'm logged in and I've made sure that my password is set to what I wanted, one of the first things that you'd want to do is mess with your home page. So, and you can see this looks, my home page looks a little bit different than most of yours will. You can see that I've just got a whole list of content on here. So what I'm going to do actually is set a home page now. And so the way I'm going to do that, when you're logged in, you'll see this green editing bar above in this center content well of every page on your site, and that'll just give you options for things that you can do on that page. So what I want to do is set a home page for the home folder. So I'm going to go to this display menu, and you've got a bunch of options. We can go through those later if we have time. But I'm going to say select a content item as default view. And so it'll give me a list of all of the pages that are in the current folder. And I'm going to choose this welcome one, because that's the one that I wanted. And I'm going to hit save, and it's going to refresh my home page. And so now you can see I have, and my home page is messy because I've been adding a bunch of weird stuff to it. But this is more like what you would see on your sites. So what I've done there is chosen a page from my main folder to act as like the front page for that folder, and thus the front page of my entire site. So I've done that, and now say I want to edit something, say like all this stuff up here is just, I don't know who added that, I want to get rid of it. So I can go to the edit option on this green toolbar here, and that'll bring me to the editing page for my welcome page. And so there's a couple of different tabs on here. The main one that you're going to be dealing with is just this default tab, and it's going to give you your title, which is what appears at the top of your page, and then the main part of that is your text box down here, and that's where you're going to see all the content that's on that page. So say I just want to get rid of all this stuff. I don't know where that came from. So I'm going to delete that, and I can make any other edits I want to at that point. Hit save, and it'll take me back to my page with my edits saved, and so now you can see it looks cleaner and there's less like weird junk on it, and it'll give you this little info message at the top here. So that's the basic mechanism of editing an existing page or content item. And so say I wanted to add a new page now. Say I want to keep this welcome page. It's useful, it has some good information on it, but there's actually a different page that I'd like to create and set that as my home page, or do whatever I want with it. So on this green editing bar, you can see there's an option for add new. And when you click on that, it'll give you a list of different kinds of content that you can add. And this list may have lots of stuff on it like it does here, or in different folders it may be restricted to certain content types. So for instance, in an images folder, you may only have rights to add images, or in a news folder, you may only have rights to add news items. But here I'm logged in as an administrator, and it's my main folder, so I can add anything I want to. So I'm going to click on page to add a new page to my folder. And so it'll bring me back to a new page that's very similar to the one that I was just on when I was editing my existing home page. And the only difference is that it says add page at the top instead of edit page. But other than that, everything's the same. And you can see once it loads a little slow because this is an internal site, and our server that it's on is doing a whole bunch of other stuff. But once it loads, you can see I've got the same 5 tabs at the top. I've got the same title blank, and then I've got the same text field here that I can type into. I need this text. And so when I hit save, you'll see it's, my page is very simple right now, so it doesn't look like much. It just has a title and it has 1 line of text. So, and when you create that new page, you'll see this red bar right here that says private. That indicates that your page has not been published yet. So anyone who's logged in to your site, so any of your library staff, will have the ability to see this page. But people who are just visiting the site, like your library patrons, won't be able to see it. And you can see that in the navigation menu to the left here, this page that I've just created, the title here is red also here. So that indicates, again, this is a private page. Someone who's not logged into your site won't be able to see it. So if I want to change that, all I have to do is click on the thing that says private and click publish. And when I do that, it'll turn blue, it'll say publish, and you can see that it's blue in this navigation menu here, and anyone who comes to the site will be able to see that. So let's see. So while we're on this page, I just want to show you a few things about things you can do while you're editing your page. Yeah. So I'm going to go back to my editing setup. You can see that it's, again, taking a second to load. So, we're all kind of, I assume, and of course I'm happy to go over stuff, but I assume that we mostly are familiar with like the basics of using a text editor that looks like this. Most of these buttons should be familiar. So, your formatting and your alignment and justification, your text color and background color, creating bullet lists and indenting things. These things should all be pretty straightforward. Marianne, so you asked, does that new page appear in the drop-down menu? So when you ask that, do you mean up here in the main navigation menu? Okay. It won't appear there, and the reason for that is that this top navigation bar will only show you folders. So, and you can see that anytime I click on one of these, all of these options are library news, archival images, calendar. Each one of these is a folder that's inside the news and events folder. The only exception to that is that each one of these options will have a home link. So you can see Espanol home, news and events home, about us home, kids and teens home. So that's, and that will take you to the main part of that folder. The patron would see the new page in this navigation menu on the side. So you don't have to have this side navigation menu, but generally everybody does. I know I've seen several sites where they've removed that or moved it around, but it's a pretty standard thing. Well, that would answer that then. Yeah, so there's a bunch of different options for how you might organize and display your content, and we can get into those if I find a good place to shoehorn it in. But the quick answer is pages won't show up in this top navigation menu, but they will show up here in the navigation portlet. Returning to the text editor. So again, you should be familiar with most of these buttons or be able to kind of figure out what it is they do. They just kind of change the appearance of your text. So the things that you might not be as familiar with because they're done different ways in different kinds of text editors is inserting stuff that isn't just plain text. So that's tables, images, links, and videos are the different some of the different things that you might want to insert in here. So images are really straightforward. I'm just going to put my cursor somewhere in the text and say, okay, I want to put an image in here. And I'll go up to this little button that says Insert Edit Image. And when I click on that, it opens me up a new dialog, and it'll give me a couple different options for what I want to do next. So you can see these tabs up here. So the Image tab is for if you have an image already uploaded onto your site somewhere, you know that, and you want to use it now on your page. So say I know that I put in an image of an alligator. Well, I put it in a couple places, and I want to use that on my page. So I'm going to search for it, and as I type it, you can see it comes up with search results. I could also, if I knew where it was but I didn't know what it was called, I could also navigate by clicking into it, opening this drop down, and then using these arrows to the side here to navigate to, okay, yeah, see, I knew it was in here, but I didn't know what it was called. Now I can find it. And when I click on that, it'll select my image. I can resize it if I want to. These numbers are in pixels, so it's just giving me different kind of preset sizes that I might want that image to appear at. I can put in this alternative text is what will show up if you hold your mouse over the image. So when I hit Insert, you can see that shows up now in my text editor. So next, if I wanted to, so say I want to upload an image that's on my computer that isn't on my site yet. So I can go to this Upload tab on the Insert Image dialog. And when I hit Browse, it'll bring me to my computer. And I can select another image that I want to upload, I can use this blank down here to choose a folder that I want to put it into if I want to. And then when I hit upload, it'll put that in. It doesn't give you any success indicator, it just disappears. So now that I've uploaded, I go back to the image tab and I type in the name of the thing that I just put in. And I see it's in the site assets images folder that I put it in. So I can select that. I'll change the size of it. I'll put in a title, and you can see that it's slightly larger because I set it to a larger size than the last one. But so it's added in there. So the final option you have is adding an external image, and that is for, again, so image is if you have it uploaded to your site. Upload is for if you have it on your computer and you want to get it onto your site. External image will allow you to pull that image from a different website and use it on yours. So I'm gonna look up some random thing real quick and choose an image from the results that I want to display on my site. So and it's just if you have an image at some URL that you want to use, you can just copy that URL and paste it in here, and then hit insert, and you can see now my image is there. Now this one is really big, and you'll notice, so if you want to edit an image that you already put in, if you just click on it to highlight it and click on this insert edit image button, you can see that your settings are still here. What you can also see is on this external image tab, there's no size blank, so I can't use this to resize my image if it's coming from an external website. But what I can do is, while I have this image selected, you can see it's got these little white boxes at the top and corner and sides of it. I can actually click and drag that, and you can see that a little counter shows up, and that's the number of pixels. I think that's width by height. And so I can click and drag to make this a more manageable size. I want to get it to about 400 pixels. Okay, so and then I can hit save, and I'll have all my images in here. So those are the different ways that you can add images to a page. Next up, if you wanted to add a link to something on your page, so there's, say you want some text that appears on your page to be clickable and take you somewhere else, either on your site or off your site. Or you can also do the same with images. So you can have an image on your page that when you click on it, it can take you somewhere. So a lot of people I've seen a lot of flyers for events that are posted, and it's like an image with lots of colorful stuff on it, and then when you click on it, it takes you to the page on your site that gives you details about that event. So to do that, all you got to do is first select the thing that you want to turn into a link. So say I want to take this text right here and make that link to something. So I can highlight it and then go up to Insert Edit Link. And that'll open a dialog that looks a lot like the image one that I just had. And so there's several options. The ones you'll use most are the internal and external ones. And so I'll demonstrate those ones. We can go over the others at another time. So the internal one is for if I want this link to take me somewhere on my site, and I can search for that in this box here. So say I want to bring people to the director's message page. So I can search for that however I want to, find that, and say, okay, this is going to be the content to my link. And then this target box will allow you to, so the default is open in this window. So what that means is when you click on it, it'll take you there in the same tab. So I'm going to say open a new window, which will cause it to open a new tab whenever I click on that. And you can see it's changed color because it's a hyperlink. And then if I save that, then I click on that link, it takes me to the director's message. So, so that's how using an internal link would work. And it'll work the same way if you're trying to add that link. So we just added it to some text on our page, and it'll work the same exact way if you want an image to work as to function as a link. Just waiting for this to load. All right, so say I want this alligator guy to link me to my images folder. I don't know. And say like, look, this is an example of all the stuff you can find in our images folder. So I'll just select that folder by searching for it. Say open a new window, hit insert, and then hit save. And now you see my cursor changes when I mouse over the alligator, and when I click on it, it'll take me to that folder. And then I can look around there and do whatever it is I want. So, so those are both internal links. Those are links that are just within your site. If you want to add an external link, it's pretty straightforward. The only thing that I would warn you about is make sure when you do that, that you always have the prefix http:// on your link. So say I want to change this alligator. So you notice when I click on him, all of these buttons change. So that indicates that there's an image here that I can modify if I click this. And there's also a link here that I can modify if I click this. And if I want to remove the existing one, this remove link button right here will take it off. And then I can click on it. There's none there. I want to put in a new one in this external tab. And so if I just type in a link without the HTTP like this, then what's going to happen is it's going to try to direct you to a page called this within your site, and that page is probably not going to exist. So you're going to get an error that that page isn't there. So make sure that you always have this prefix on there. And so then if I hit save and I click on my alligator, it'll take me to my external site. And so quickly, I'll also demonstrate a little bit about tables and videos. Now that I hope those images and links make sense. I know that those are most of the things that we're going to be adding to any given page. So I want to make sure I go over all the different ways to do that. So say you have some content that you want to put on your page that you want to order in a grid. So you want to put a table into your page. And we don't recommend doing that for a lot of different content because one of the things is that we've tried to emphasize is people are going to be viewing your site on devices that vary from like a 40-inch Mac monitor to a 4-inch iPhone screen. And so when you make rigid components, so like a table is a rigid component. So there's like 4 columns across. Those columns can only get so small, and so when you're viewing it on a very small device, it's going to be really hard to read. So we kind of say we recommend that you don't use too many of them, although it's preferable, I know, for a lot of different things that you want to display. So anyway, that caveat aside, to insert a table into your page, you just click your cursor where you want to put it, and then go up to you go up to this table menu, and you go insert table, and it'll give you this little grid here, and you can actually just move your mouse over it to select the number of cells in each direction that you start with. So I'm gonna create a 4x4 grid to start with, and so you can see that puts this little outline here, and I can start typing in, and you can see that the cells are going to resize according to the relative size of the text that's in those cells. So that something to be aware of, that it will do that automatically. So you can do a little bit to change the formatting of tables when you put them in. So if your cursor is in one of the cells of that table, you go up here, you'll see that the rest of this table is now selectable. So if I go to table properties, you can specify some of, like, you can hard code some of this stuff. If you want your table to be rigid and you want it to be this wide and this tall and all this stuff, you can modify that here. And if you want your border and background to be different colors, you can also do that here. So for instance, say I want my background to be green. You can type that in and you can see it'll change it. I think we're having problems with the borders right now. So yeah, so when I do that, even though I'm putting that in, it's not changing it. So that's something that we're working on fixing. And in the future, that is how it'll work, is that you'll go to table properties, you'll go to advanced, and you'll type in the name of a color that you want your borders and your background to be. So if I clear those, then it'll go back to the default. All right, so, and quickly I'll show you about inserting, say you want to insert a video into your page. You can do that by going to the insert menu, and you can see that you've got your insert image and insert link options here, and those will take you to the same things these buttons did. So when I click on this, it'll give me the option to put in just a URL or actually use the embed code. And so you can, if you go to a YouTube video and just anything, then if you scroll down to the share option, then you'll see, so the first tab will give you a link and you can use that. If you take that and you put it into your general, you don't have to fill out these dimensions, it'll do it automatically, and hit OK. You'll see this little placeholder block come up, and if you hit save, then you'll see that video appear in your page. And the embed tab will give you the same thing. It's done a slightly different way. So wherever you're pulling your video from, if you click, like for instance YouTube, you can just click on embed, and then you can copy the code that it gives you. And then while you're editing your page, you can click on your video, go to insert edit, and see it's filled in your proportions for you. So I'm going to go to embed, and I'm going to post that, or paste that rather. And you can see, again, it'll show you your video placeholder. And you hit save, and it will post your video in there. So two different ways, very similar, of getting the same result. So let's see. So that's about it for what I wanted to show you about how to edit pages. And I want to spend a little bit of time real quick on your header section of your site, since this has changed in the last week. And hopefully it's going to be a lot easier now. We've heard from some people who think it is, and we've heard a little bit of negative feedback about that. In your header section, there's a couple of different things you can do. You'll notice, first of all, that there's no title showing up in the middle of my header. And I've got this picture here as a site logo. So to set up how these things appear or don't appear, I would go to the button that has my name on it, and I'll go down here to this option, Site Configurations, which was recently added. And this will bring me to a control panel that gives me a bunch of options. So here is my site title, which previously would have shown up here. But you can see that the option here, Site Title Visible, I've chosen not to make it. So I'm going to change that to just for the home page so you can see the difference. And then there's a few different fonts that I can select from. The the number of different fonts is very limited because these are all fonts that are kind of widely supported across whatever browsers and systems you're using. A lot of them aren't in various places, and so using one that isn't can cause display issues for some of your users. So it is a bit restricted. So I'll say apply, and then I'll go back to my home page. And you can see now my title is showing up. It's showing up in the font that I selected it in. And if I click to another page, you can see it's not showing up because I said only show it on the home page. So I can also change the size and make it bold if I want to. I think it's showing up well enough, so I'm not going to worry about that. In the future, we're working on allowing you to change colors and do custom line breaks. We don't have that in there yet, but we are hoping to get it to you soon. So all of these things are just for the site title. Down here, we have a replace site logo image, and that is going to control this image here. Now, before you had to go to the site assets folder and add a logo named something specific. Now, all you have to do is come to the site config page and scroll down, hit choose file, and say, this is the file I want. I don't have to worry about renaming anything. I hit apply, and there it is. So it's much simpler than it used to be. And we have had a few people note that their former logos are no longer there. For most people, I think it should be working. If your logo did disappear, just let us know and we can help you put it back. So in the same way, this is all that I've got on here right now. But if I go to my theme changer, which is also a new feature, most of you have changed your themes before. This is just giving us a slightly different place to do it. You'll see I have my SAS theme active. And this is a little messy before it finishes loading. So I have my SAS theme active. I have two other options, Metropolis and Slate. And so the Slate one will allow me to set a banner image in my header. And that's what I'm interested in doing. So I'm going to hit activate on that. And you can see I must have already set something. So when I activate it, it's showing me, hey, this is what it's going to look like now. And then I can go to the color palettes tab and I can select slightly different versions of the theme that I've selected. And when I do that, it'll reload it and show me what it looks like in that theme. So the buttons are slightly different colors and all that. So I am fine with the Pacifica one, so I'll hit apply to save that. And I'm not quite sure why that's showing up like that. It shouldn't be. It's something I've made note of and I'm following up on, but generally it won't do that. So if I go back now to my site configurations page, then you'll see I have a couple of more options now. Now, because I have the Slate theme active, I can now set header images. So now I have two options, set homepage and set site-wide. So the homepage header is only going to show up on the main page of your site. So I'm going to set one image for that, and then I'll set a different image to appear throughout the rest of the site. And then I'll hit apply. And so you can see, since I'm not on the home page, I'm seeing that river image that I selected. And if I click on home, then it'll take me back and it'll show me the image. You can see I picked a different image there. And so again, previously you had to go into different folders and name files and stuff. Now all you have to do is go to that site configuration page and select the files from your computer, and they'll be uploaded as your header images. So just want to make sure that we touch on that, since again it has changed in the recent past. So next I want to show you a little bit about, since let's see, we weren't done yet on the transparency or color options, that overlay on the Slate theme. We have been doing some work on it. am still checking with our developers about when that's going to be rolled out. I know that we're working on a couple of other features that they're trying to get included for this week's release. I'm hoping to have an announcement about what's going to be in there done by sometime today. And when that does go out, you'll get an email. It'll link to a forum post in the announcements forum that will list out the big changes that are coming through. So yeah, if we can get that to, I'm trying to get that to you guys as soon as we can, but I know that there's still a few details that they're hammering out about what it's going to be like. So thank you for your patience. All right, so aside from pages, one of the other things that a lot of people are going to want to add are, of course, events. This is not loading in the prettiest fashion right now. It's a bit of an issue, working on it. So I'm going to go up to my news and events folder. And I'm going to, from there, I'm going to go to my library calendar. And I can add events wherever I have rights to, which will be determined by when I click on this Add New option. Like, it'll give me these options. And right now, this is when you'll notice when I'm clicking on these menus, it's bringing me to a page rather than a drop down. That's another, it's a product of something that's not loading fast enough on the page that I'm working on. It shouldn't generally happen, and I know that that's another small bug that we're working on ironing out. But it still works the same even if that doesn't start happening. When I go to my calendar, I can see here these colored dots will indicate that there's an event, and if I click on the date, it'll expand that date and show me everything that's on there, and you can see the key up here. So this means both of these are yellow, so they're repeating events, and if I want details on that, I can click on the title, and it'll bring me to the information about it. You can see, okay, so it's repeating on these dates, and here's some information about it. So say I want to add a new event to my calendar. I'm going to do it in this calendar folder because that helps us keep our site organized. You can add events elsewhere, but that can clutter up other folders. So I'm going to click Add New and then click on Event. And it'll take me to an editing page that looks very similar to the one for pages. But it has some different blanks because there's different information that you'd be interested in for an event. So let's see. So I'm going to put some information in about my event and just say, okay, it's going to happen on Saturday the 22nd, and it's going to start at noon, and it's going to go till 3. And we've had a couple of people ask that we can only do half-hour and hour increments right now. So there's things can start on the 15s. I'm asking about what it will take to get that changed, but I don't have an answer yet. And so you have a few options for making your event last the entire day, or making it start at the start time and then go to the end of the day. And you can just add your all of your contact and information, and this stuff will show up in the gray box when you look at your event. So if I go and save this, then it will show me my new event. And again, when you create an event, same as with a page, it'll start out in the private state, and that will mean it won't show up on your calendar until you publish it. So I'm going to publish this, and then I can check and go back to my calendar real quick. And you can see since I just created this one event, I'm expecting a blue dot here. So when my calendar loads, I should see a blue dot on the 22nd of August. And you'll see that is there. So when I click on this, okay, there's 2 events here, and it'll give me the basic details of that event. Now say it's wildly popular and I want to make it happen every month. So I can click on this and I can go to Edit, and then I can scroll down here to this recurrence field. So the recurrence field gives me a place to define when and how often that event is going to repeat. So right now it's not set up to, so it says this does not repeat here. So I'm going to click on Add, and that'll open up a little dialog. And it gives you some options up here for how often it'll repeat. And then it gives you a list of dates that it's set to repeat on down here. So I'm going to say monthly, and I'm going to say repeat on the 4th Saturday of every month, and we're going to do it for a whole year. So, and you can see the selected dates have changed here. You've got each one listed, and there's different ranges here. So now say there's an event that in this list, like I want this to generally happen, but there's some events where, oh, the library is going to be closed on December 26th, it's the day after Christmas. So I can go down to this and I can hit this little trash can icon, and it'll take it out of the list. And then I can hit save. And now my rule says repeats every month on the 4th Saturday of the month for a year, except for this date. And then it gives you the list of those dates. And so when I save it, you can see now those occurrences are listed here. And if I go back to the library calendar, because it's a repeating event now, it will, instead of a blue dot, you'll get another yellow dot. So, and then, you know, you have slightly different ones for all day events and events that repeat that also are for all day. So, so yeah, and so now instead of a blue and a yellow, I have 2 yellow dots here. And so you can, and so you'll also be able to see these events. So this is your main calendar. You can also see them if you create a calendar portlet, which a lot of people will have, and you can see that I've got one here. And so if I hold my mouse over the 22nd, you can't see it because my joint view is blocking that. But when you hold your mouse over a day that has events on it, it'll show you a little window that tells you what those events are and a few of the details about them. So say, let's see, so that's about what I wanted to show you about events. And so I'll show you a little bit about portlets now. And portlets can get really complicated really fast, but it is a big part of your site that you want to be able to mess with. So I do want to go through those. So say I like my calendar portlet, but I'd prefer it over on the left instead of the right. So to change that, I can scroll down to the bottom of my page, and I'll have this Manage Portlets button here. So if I click on that, it'll take me to the portlet management screen for the page that I'm on. So you can see each of the portlets that I had is represented by a gray box with a name in it. So and they're going to be listed in the order that they appear on the page. So you know, if you see your email book club up here, and then your navigation, your Oregon authors, then when you go to this page, you should see these appearing in that order. The same goes here. Now, I wanted to move my calendar portlet over to the other side of the page. You can't click and drag these things. What I'll have to do is actually remove my calendar portlet from here and add a new one over here. Now, you'll notice that some of these portlets have some buttons on them. So there's a hide button, there's an X, that's to delete your portlet, and then over here where I have multiple of them, I have arrows where I can actually click on these to move them up and down relative to each other. But I don't have those options here or over here, and that's because you can see these are under the section Parent Portlets as opposed to Portlets assigned here. So what that means is that these the location hours, calendars, events, navigation, and Oregon authors, those are all coming from somewhere other than the current page. The page is inheriting those from the folder that it's in. And so to change these and change where and how they show up, I'll actually need to go to the place that this page is getting them from. So to find that, you can see that there's this info message here in the middle of your page. It says you're managing portlets for the default view of a container. And what that means is for the page that's being used as the front page for your home folder. If you wanted to manage the portlets of the container itself, that being the home folder, you can click on this Go Here, and it'll take you to a page that looks almost the same, but this is actually editing the portlets for your home folder itself as opposed to just the front page for it. And so now you can see there's fewer things showing up. There's nothing showing up in my parent portlets section, and everything is showing up in my portlets assigned here, and it has all these buttons here. So I want to remove my calendar, and say I don't know if I want it permanently removed, but I do want to get rid of it. So I'm going to click Hide. I could have deleted it, but I'm nervous about it. So, and you can see that changes to say Show, and that indicates that it's currently hidden, and you can click this to make it show again. And then I'm going to come over here and click on Add Portlet, and I'm going to choose from the drop-down list. I'm going to choose Calendar Portlet. And then it'll give me a few choices about like what publication states I want to include. So I only want published events, so I'm going to highlight that and click my arrow to add that to the list. And then the search base will be this calendar will show you events that are posted anywhere on the site if it's left like this. But I know that I've been putting all of my events in the library calendar, so I'm going to specify that. You don't have to do that. It's just me being kind of clean about it. So I'm going to hit Save. And you can see that this calendar was added to the bottom here. Say I want it to go above my Oregon authors. So I'm going to click this up arrow. And that will move my portlet up here. And then I'm going to hit Save Settings. And just to be sure, I'm going to hit Save Settings here since I hid this calendar. All right. And then I'm going to click on the Return button right here to bring me back to my home folder. And so what I should see is now I have a calendar portlet here, and there's no calendar portlet here. So I've successfully moved my portlet from one side of the screen to the other. There's a lot of other things that you can do with portlets. There's lots of different kinds of them. There's static text portlets, upcoming event portlets, navigation portlets, all kind of stuff. So, and there is a section in our help desk that will help you understand a little bit more about what each of those is and what it's for. I won't go over those here since it's a topic that we could do an entire hour at least on. But I did mention that this is part of the knowledge base on the help desk, so I want to use that as a segue to show you in the last 10 minutes that we have here a little bit about what we can do on the help desk. So, and you're seeing it from my administrative view right now. Let me switch to looking at it as a user, so I can see what y'all would see. So right here, I'm just signing in. I think that's my password. All right, so from here, you've got a couple of different options, and those will be listed across the top here, kind of similar to how your Ploud site is built. So solutions is where I'd always recommend you start, and that's going to bring you to our knowledge base, which has a whole bunch of articles that are mostly written by me about how to use various things on your site. And so you can search those if you know that there's something specific you're looking for, or you can browse through, try to organize them in a way that makes sense, but of course that's always subjective. And so this has everything from a checklist for things that you might want to think about doing when you log into your site for the first time, which I know we still have people who are just starting to get into their sites. And then questions that you might have, like what does it mean for an item to be published versus private? How do I change that? Some information about that, and then specific topics like, oh, I want to resize an image. Like how do I do that? And then there's a few topics on which we've actually done instructional videos on those, but there's not very many of those out there. But we do have also a section on webinar recordings, and that's all of the sessions like this one that we conduct are recorded and then are posted on here for anybody who missed them or for anybody who wants to review them. So there's a lot of stuff on this part of the help desk and the knowledge base. If there's anything that doesn't make sense or is missing, that's feedback that I'm more than happy to hear. I know we've had a number of tickets logged through people coming and saying, okay, well, I was reading this article, I didn't like it, and I want to suggest some feedback. So you can actually click on. Okay. Yeah, see, and we can, if you click on that, it'll give you information about this, and it'll allow you to give some information about what didn't help about it. So you can say like, oh, I actually had a problem that wasn't discussed here that should be, and we'll be happy to add that. So another option that you have is on our forums. We have a number of discussions going on about a bunch of subjects. And to anyone who may be on here or watching this, if I haven't responded to your question yet, I do apologize for that. I'm reading them and I'm answering them as quickly as I can get around to, but sometimes it takes a little delay. But these are helpful because anyone who's having any problems or wants to discuss anything can come in here and see kind of what the rest of the user community is dealing with, what kind of stuff they're running into. So for instance, one that was useful was this topic on adding spaces between lines in your text that someone added. Sabrina was having trouble because she was hitting return over and over again, but then when she saved her page, no spaces had been added. Couldn't figure it out. And what we realized is, oh, if you hit shift and enter instead of just enter, it'll create spaces. And that, and we actually had one of the other users suggest that. So I didn't even realize that you could. So it's a good way to have more public discussions about the things that you're running into. And you can also see that we've got on here, we've got an announcements forum where we're making announcements about about changes that are going on to your site. We will have regular maintenance updates, generally on Thursday nights, and at those times we'll have new bug fixes and new features coming in that we'll report there in that announcements forum. And then there's also feature requests, which a lot of people have added things and saying, hey, this is something that we'd like to see be slightly different. And that helps us because it's a way for us to get feedback and know like what features people care about us prioritizing. And then finally, a lot of you are probably familiar with this, but if another main part of the help desk is logging tickets. There's buttons all over the place to do that. You can see there's a new support ticket button here, or if I go to tickets, if I've created any, then I'll be able to see them here. And if I say create a new one, then I go to this form and there's a bunch of information for me to fill out. Anything you can tell us will help us diagnose your problem more easily. But even if you're not entirely certain what to put in there, just make your best stab at it and we'll pick that up. And if we need more information, then we'll respond to the ticket with a more specific request and maybe some helpful guides on how to get that information or where to get it, something like that. So that is everything that I wanted to talk about. We've got a couple minutes left in the hour. If there's anything, I know I went a little fast over some of that stuff. Hopefully it's a comfortable pace, but if you have any questions, I can maybe answer a couple. And if not, then again, this recording will be available on the help desk as I was showing you, and we'll have another open session tomorrow morning. I believe it's 11 a.m. Central Time. So do any necessary transpositions, because I'm going to confuse myself. with that, yeah, thank all y'all for attending. I want to thank all y'all for attending and listening to me talk through this stuff. And I look forward to helping you either now or in the future. All right, so it looks like we don't have any burning questions coming up, so I'll go ahead and close this out. So again, thank all y'all for coming, and I'll be in contact again. Have a good day.